I'm joined now by a resident of Riderwood who has a history of focusing on bereavement. Specifically, she worked as the director of bereavement for Montgomery Hospice. And recently she wrote an article that appeared in the Riderwood Reporter newspaper discussing grief. Now, we all know about grief when it comes to things like death, dying, and loss. But what we may not realize is during times of COVID-19, we're also experiencing grief over a variety of other things that we're losing, whether it be normalcy, traditions, things of that nature. And so I hope my guest today can help us clarify a little bit more about how we can cope with these issues and also talk a little bit more about how this is normal. So I'd like to welcome to the show Elaine Tiller. Elaine, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here, Chris.
I did a little digging about you first. Now, I mentioned in my intro that you worked for Montgomery Hospice as the director of bereavement. What exactly did that job kind of entail?
Well, I did a lot of grief support groups, and actually, that's one way I became interested in rituals, because every group we ended with a ritual. I created the groups there, and I had 9 counselors that worked with me, and we did training in the community. We did a lot of training at Riderwood, actually. So when I first came here to the sales office, it felt very odd to be walking in as someone who was thinking about moving here instead of someone who was going to do a workshop or training of some sort. So we did a lot of education. We were called on when a school had a death, whether, especially if it was a suicide, we worked with them. We were called on by businesses when there was a death, and they were hoping. We did a lot of time to remembers for organizations, for the government when they had losses, different departments, legal firms, all kinds of things. So we did a lot of outreach into the community and education, as well as lots. We support every family that has someone die at Montgomery Hospice. Grief affects every level of our being. It affects our emotions, emotional state, mental state. It affects our physical state. We can start getting tired all the time. We could either stop eating or eat way more. And those are clues about the physical, or drinking. If we start drinking too much in our apartment, it's a big clue that something's going wrong for us. And the other level is the spiritual level. This affects people's faith and beliefs.
Earlier in our interview, and in the article that you wrote for the Reporter, you mentioned about rituals. And how one of the big things that I think a lot of people are experiencing is that loss of ritual. For people who aren't...
Ordinary, everyday rituals.
Exactly. That's what I was looking for. It was mainly trying to get people to better understand what you mean by rituals.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. What were you going to say?
There are the ordinary, everyday rituals of our lives. We all have a time we prefer showering. And we don't think of them as rituals. My husband reads the newspaper first thing in the morning, and if it doesn't get here, he's in trouble. That's a ritual. And they're just those ordinary rituals of life that we don't think about as ritual. They are. But then there are rituals that we develop to deal with rituals around death, for sure. We all know what those are. We're not able to have them right now. The memorial services, the burials, we have lots of rituals around holidays. And that's one reason we hurt so much on Mother's Day is we can't do those rituals with our families. We can't
Mm-hmm.
be hugged. Um, and so we, but we are able to create our own rituals. And I
Yeah.
think during this period, creating rituals for me has been really important and simple. I'm not talking about big fancy things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Lighting a candle of hope in the evening to say to myself that, you know, I'm going to hold the hope that life is going to get better, life is going to be different for us,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know what that's going to be like, but it's going to be good. Some way we will make it good. So that would be a simple ritual
Right.
that we might not do any other time in our life. Think about a candle being a candle of hope. Um, but another, Bob, my husband and I um, do a ritual in the mornings. And this just started uh, during this period because we, you know, it's easy to get in the box of complaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to feel kind of bad for yourself about things. And so we wanted to feel, we wanted to remember all the things we're grateful for and thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
So over coffee in the morning, we name something for that day that we are grateful for.
Oh, okay.
And we have what we call our grateful bowl, and it's full of gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was thinking about people that live here who are single by themselves. They can't do what I just described. Um, I mean, I really, we all know that it's got, this time period has got to be way harder on single people at
Agreed.
Riderwood or anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, if I lived alone, how would I do this? Um, how would I suggest they come up with a ritual like this to help them? And because it really helps, it sets the tone of your day
Mm-hmm.
about thankfulness and gratefulness and gratitude rather than complain, feel bad. So it's an attitude changer.
Right.
So I think people that live here alone might consider a friend that they have who they could call sometime during the day, whether it's the morning or what. They call and they both get a pretty bowl in their apartment, a gratitude bowl, um, and and they do that together.
Mm-hmm.
They share what they're grateful for that day, and you know it's not a big deal. Yesterday for me it was hearing the birds. Uh, it 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 can be very simple. It can be a bigger thing.
Right.
Whatever I feel. And so we build two people living alone who are friends
Mm-hmm.
could build a grateful, thankful bowl.
Yeah.
And then when they get a little down, they could go through what they're thankful for to remind them.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it would build a deeper relationship because you would talk about what you're writing down and why
Right.
that's important to you. Um, and one of the things about this period is that we need to build the relationships and not withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
When we withdraw, then we get in trouble. Um, so that would be a way, a ritual that people might do to build better relationships and to
Mm-hmm.
get through this period together.